the knee.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Don Willie back again with another subscriber request from Hedge Knight Killer. And today, as you can see, we are back at Winterfell one more time to talk about the dire wolves of House Stark. Now, as we all know, direwolf is the ancestral sigil of House Stark, although we don't know if it was first installed by the founder, Bran the Builder. But we are going to be talking specifically about the direwolves who appear in our story. Now, the direwolves first show up in A Game of Thrones after Ned beheads a deserter from the Night's Watch. They found a dead direwolf with the pups suckling the mother, and they decided to give the direwolf pups to the 5 children of the Stark clan and the one bastard of Winterfell, Jon Snow. So, as follows, we have Robb's wolf, Grey Wind. We have Sansa's wolf, Lady. We have Brandon's wolf, Summer. Nymeria belonging to Arya. Shaggy Dog belonging to Rickon. And last but not least, Ghost, who belongs to Jon Snow. Now, what is not known to most of the Stark children is they all have a special bond with their wolves because they are all wargs. Now, this is something that is not explored in the show, unfortunately, except for with Bran. And as we go on through the story, we learn more and more about Bran's warging abilities and also his closeness with his direwolf. Now, unfortunately, because Lady was killed very early on during her interactions with Sansa, she didn't develop that same bond, and so, Sansa unfortunately has not really discovered her warging abilities. Arya, on the other hand, has found a way to war with her direwolf Nymeria, even though she hasn't seen her wolf in a couple of years, but she has been able to pick up on her presence all the way from Essos, even while she's doing her Faceless Man training, which may make it a lot harder for her to simply let go of her former self and take on the role of a Faceless Man and become no one. Rickon, is kind of a funny character because his wolf closely relates to him, and the fact that his wolf Shaggy Dog has a very wild and feral nature, and Rickon is also described as being the kind of wild child. He was very young when the War of the Five Kings started and didn't have, the rearing that his older siblings had. And of course, we have probably the most famous wolf in the story, which is Ghost. He is an all-white direwolf with red eyes. He accompanies Jon Snow just about everywhere. And while we don't get as much of him in the show as we do get in the books, when he does pop up in the show, he does have a pretty major impact on the scenes that he's in. Now, Robb's wolf, Grey Wind, unfortunately was killed with him at the Red Wedding, but the legends that sprung up around Robb and Grey Wind during the War of the Five Kings were substantial. People were saying that Robb actually rode into battle on his direwolf, which we know, even though the wolf is big, it's not big enough for a human being to ride, at least not a full-grown man or even a teenager as Robb was. Yeah, and unfortunately, when they murdered Robb, they also desecrated his wolf's body. They cut off the wolf's head and attached it to Robb's body and paraded it throughout the courtyard at the Twins in very horrific fashion. Like I said, Lady was killed very early on in the story because of the events that happened along the Trident when Arya was playing with one of her friends. Joffrey decides to intervene, and during that whole session, it appeared as though Joffrey was going to possibly kill Arya, and so Nymeria sprung into action. But in order to save Nymeria from being killed, Arya sent Nymeria away, and as punishment, Cersei decided to order that Sansa's direwolf Lady be killed, since they couldn't find Nymeria. Now, Nymeria is actually running around the Riverlands as the leader of a super pack of, I believe, 100 wolves. So that is kind of crazy to have a super pack of 100 wolves, just in and of itself, but to have a super pack headed by a direwolf, and the direwolf is probably about 1.5 times the size, that's extraordinary. Summer, shares Bran's kind of calm nature, and it obviously has followed him all the way north to Bloodraven and the Children of the Forest Heart Tree, and he's pretty much been with him, the entire time. When an assassin was sent by what is presumed in the books, at least, to be Joffrey to kill him, it is the direwolf, along with Catelyn Stark, that is able to save Bran's life. And the direwolf has been with him ever since. And even though there were a lot of people who were opposed to his wolf being around, just because they feared not that which they did not understand, Bran was not going to let his protector and his friend fall to the wayside for anyone's comfort. And of course, Shaggy Dog, like Rickon, is kind of reckless and very, very hard to control. So, we haven't gotten much of Shaggy Dog in the way that we haven't gotten much of Rickon, but I would imagine that, him growing up in Skagos or in the show in Umber territory, he may have calmed down a bit, as Rickon may have, but, I imagine that when the two of them are reintroduced to the story, that they will be somewhat of fearsome warriors. And I do think that Shaggy Dog will play maybe not a major part later on in the story, but he'll play a big enough part for him to be of some note. So, unfortunately, we don't have much more in the way of the happenings of the actual wolves, since, obviously we're not going to get into the mind of the wolves, and we don't have any other wolves that are named. And in fact, before this story transpired, it was believed that all dire wolves were extinct south of the Wall. So, it was actually seen as a bad omen by Theon when they first came upon the wolves. But, the wolves have been there to protect the Stark children as much as they can. They've been great companions and friends to these children during their most trying times, when even their parents couldn't be there to protect them. So, shout out to the dire wolves, right? Yeah, man. So, listen, got some more videos coming up. You already know the deal. Rate, comment, subscribe, share, tell your friends. Come back for more. Thank you to Edge Knight Killer for this one. And that's been my time. Don Willie, I'm out.